Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of Eye of the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful Rabbit Hole, Lore and Frey, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. Well, it's finally happened. Nintendo has uploaded a new Nintendo Switch Online video, and the Pretendos aren't happy. In all seriousness, no, Nintendo has been regularly promoting Nintendo Switch Online by talking about new updates every time a significant one drop on their YouTube channel. They talked about GoldenEye, they talked about like Game Boy and Game Boy Advance coming to Switch, and recently they've talked about Metroid Fusion. And there does seem to be a very pervasive, an undying meme in the comment section that Nintendo is simply taking old footage and re-uploading it over and over and over again to disable the dislike bar that does not actually exist. Like it seems to be a holdover from when Nintendo Switch Online had a very, very, very dedicated, uh, controversial following of people who just hated the service and wanted to see it fail and did everything in their power to like try and make Nintendo think the service wasn't going to pan out. But 40 million subs later, dozens of games, the most popular online subscription service in the world, like it seems more and more like these people are losing their grip on the narrative that the service is unpopular. I myself have been like going on there and observing this in the comment section where you have a lot of people joking about how Nintendo Switch Online is never going to take off, but then you have like the people who know, people who like are enjoying the service, who do appreciate it for what it is, who are supporting it. And more it feels like the narrative that Nintendo Switch Online is a bad service is dying. It's not all that popular anymore, and I would say like initially it was universally despised, the NSO service. Like everyone hated it, and over the years it's slowly kind of gotten to this point where fans of the service are about to overtake the detractors, and of course the detractors are more vocal, but it feels as if the detractors are going to do everything in their power to keep this narrative going for as long as possible. Because when Nintendo Switch Online becomes like accepted among the general population, when like everyone has it, it's over. This will be the default way to play old Nintendo games. Everything will be readily available on it. There will be supports, there will be like support of online multiplayer. Like it will be very, once you're in the service and once you're playing all these great games, once you start discovering all this stuff, like you're going to eventually go down the rabbit hole of becoming a Nintendo fan. Like I think with Nintendo Switch Online, it's going to be very difficult for a person to only be a fan of a single Nintendo franchise, because traditionally everyone always said that like, oh, I only buy a Nintendo game for Zelda and then I put it away because nothing else interests me. It's that was a that mindset was a result of like it being difficult to get into like every single Nintendo franchise that came out, and as a result of that, it was difficult to really take the money, find the resources, and the time to get into everything, to try everything. And now having it like a lot of this old classic stuff available for free through a subscription service, people are going to start discovering Kirby. People are going to start discovering like these old Zelda games, games like Super Mario Bros. 3. And different versions of the same games as well. People have noted that Nintendo Switch Online right now has the original Super Mario Bros. 3, Super Mario Bros. 3 All Stars, and Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3 on the same service. So if you have a particular fondness for a specific version of Super Mario Bros. 3, you can choose that, or you can play all of them and kind of like learn for yourself like what the differences are and like how things were back then. And hardcore fans find that stuff interesting. Like it is engaging seeing just how much these games and franchises, these games have changed over the years. Like I remember discovering, having grown up with Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, that the original Super Mario Bros. Didn't have a map screen. And that was so mind blowing to me because, like, the map screen to me was one of the most iconic parts of the original Super Mario Bros. But it wasn't a thing. Like, it was something they introduced later. So that is like an interesting thing to keep in mind in regards to this. Is that like, wow, there are games on here that a lot of people have not played. Who do you know who cares about Windback, right? Windback does have a small following of people who played it back in the day. Like, there are things to appreciate about that game. You have stuff like Sin and Punishment, you have stuff like Star Fox 2, you have all this stuff that like it's very unlikely that anyone has played every single game on that service. In fact, I would say it's like at this point it's downright impossible. I am I'm curious to see I am curious to see just when the service is going to be accepted as being the definitive way to play all these old Nintendo games. Because right now we're kind of in this like situation where the detractors are like pointing to emulators and emulation as like the superior alternative, like conveniently ignoring the fact that like piracy is completely illegal. Like they are doing everything they possibly can to kind of downplay the Switch Online service in order to promote Game Pass and like Valve and Steam Deck piracy. And it isn't a sustainable model. Now that Nintendo is like directly trying to sell all of these old games to you through a subscription service, much like Disney Plus, much like all these old cartoons that used to be easily available online like 10 years ago, like there is going to be a crackdown on it. In fact, I would say it's already started. The piracy is not going to be a viable thing in the future. I would say it's already not now, considering like how modern games don't really run well on emulators. The justifications are just excuses. They always have been. People who say they play GoldenEye with friends online with 1080p like upres, like they're full of shit. Like it's not real. What you should like these people don't really appreciate or respect the fact that NSO is an easily accessible legal service where you can play all these old games. And as a result, is going to naturally draw in more customers and is naturally going to be more appealing than simply like pirating the game off the internet. It is it's interesting to see just how long this narrative has persisted, but it does feel like it's dying down a lot. And I do think like once we start hitting GameCube, games that are hard to get a hold of and hard to pirate, we are going to see like more and more people start to say that like, wow, this service is actually super appealing to me. Like this is actually looks like something I would want. And we're already on the verge of that happening. We are very, very close now to Nintendo Switch Online being generally accepted as a great service, and I cannot wait to see that happen.